Okay, so this is going to be the Civ tier video, in which I will make a list and explain why each Civ is in a tier and in the position that it is in. And I will mainly aim at competitive 1v1s for this, but I will probably mention when a Civ can do better in team activities or whatsoever. So for that, I made a list. You can also just screenshot it if you want to read. I'll just go through it myself. So the number one spot is obviously Mighty Sweden, who is the best in any type of game, 1v1, team game, competitive game, ranked game. They're just the best. And a couple of reasons for that would be the fact that Karelines are a musketeer unit that overperforms heavily, which means they counter goon type units with quite alright range, they counter any cav type unit. They probably trade very cost effectively against any other musk and die the slowest against skirms. Also, that adds up to a super strong husk because of its insane HP. Despite the fact that it just got nerfed a little, it's still the highest HP husk. A really strong eco in early game because of the trade, in late game because of fish. And well, to back that insane army up, we have super strong artillery, possible options for 3 different artillery pieces. You can go for lever cannons, barraged mortars, which means mortars can shoot units, or simply horse artillery. You have not only engineering school, but an extra card just for faster lever cannon training and a second team artillery training speed card. So your artillery pretty much trains the fastest out of everyone. And at last, we also have decent merc options. You may have seen merc decks being used by some people. That basically means you use a card in H4 that makes your merc stronger and enables both Landsknecht and Jaggers in your barracks, which is a decent option. Probably not the strongest, but it's alright. And also you can ship infinite 6 Marmaloks for 1k coin. Swedish Mamelukes are the strongest with 2.6k HP, so it's definitely worth thought. On the number 2 spot, also probably universal for all game modes, is France. Well, there's probably no one not familiar with France, but still. Gendarmes are just a super strong cav, obviously. They have insane skirmishes, and they have a super strong eco with ridiculously good natives, as they have 3 different cards affecting the natives. Sometimes even 4 or 5 depending on what the native type is. But yeah, that just is a good combination of things to roll over pretty much everything, unless it's called Sweden. In the number 3 spot there is Portuguese, the king of lame. Ports are, in my opinion, a very controlled playstyle civ with well, the best goon and skirm combination, as the goons have the longest range and castadors are the highest attack skirmishes. And behind that you have your super high range mortars to passively push, fast artillery training, a decent husk, even though that is not very special, a good musketeer, and obviously the almighty explorer spam, soaking up all the damage that you could ever ask for to be soaked up. And that is also universal on all the maps, I think. Port is just the number 3. Interesting is number 4, Spain. In a 1v1 competitive, it still is a tier 1 civ, obviously. It has now on DE a pretty good eco because of the infinite shipment that is affected by both Spanish gold and the H1 H-up option for 900 food, which makes your H1 shipments get extra crates. So what you do is you send 300 coin and it adds up to a total of 1200 resources. And that's for a civ that is supposed to be weak in terms of eco. Military, you have unction, you have lances, you have rods. Strong natives, obviously both artillery and skirms are also affected by unction. So that's just a crazy pushing power. Spain can suffer in team games and also ranked games, depending on how the map layout is, as Spain is rather terrible at splitting, as most of their units are not that great on their own, but only together and with unction. And yeah, they prefer a heads-up fight. In the number 5 spot, Inca, the unit civ. Inca does not only start with a total of like 400 units, but also does it keep up most of these units throughout the game, as they have access to like 33 natives as overpop, to already having the normal army size with attack bands. Meanwhile, these natives are also the strongest in the game, as they're not only affected by native cards, but also by attack bands and the Explorer aura, giving extra HP. Only problem, you can run out of wood, despite the normal eco in terms of food and coin being really strong. Having no wood is a big problem, but is now maybe solved as the ballers just got a big buff, and yeah, I think Inca is just damn strong. Okay, well, you may say they have no siege, I guess, or well, a bad siege, but they're still really strong overall. In the number 6 spot, there is Iro. I will just call them Iro. I can't pronounce the Hauda, whatever the name is. Iro just reaches the literally highest score at the 40-minute mark, featuring the highest resources. Yeah, they're really hard to play in terms of boom and fight, because of the bad train times. A lot of micro needed, macro needed, fire pit movement needed, but it pays off. The army is super strong. The 1k HP, 1 pop mantlets, the light cannon mass that can dodge culverin shots and can deal damage as mortar, culverin or horsehide unit. Forest Prowlers being an insane skirmisher, kind of a lack of anti-cav, but it's fine because of mantlets in front and sometimes also natives. But yeah, they're just super hard to play, and they run very dry once wood or their third trade runs out, so they have 2 timers, and that may make them very sucky in many scenarios. But assuming we're playing on Andes, they will most likely finish off their opponent, unless it's one of the better civs. In the number 7 spot, we have China, who is a very interesting case. China has very shitty units mostly, at the max mediocre units, but the overall best eco in the game, as they have less resources at 40 than Iro, but keep up most of that gather rate after 40, while Iro loses a lot of it. So yeah, literally just insane eco, 119 vills, cows, free trickles, factories, anything you can ask for really. An insane infinite shipment being Rattans, some of the strongest natives out there, flamethrowers. Chokonu is nerfed, but it's still alright. You can send a second explorer, you have super strong native cards. Yeah, hand mortar spam can be annoying, but it's rather bad to be honest, but it can just be annoying, especially with that insane eco. This is why I mention it. Next on the list is British in the 8th spot. Yeah, British just Brit. They have above average musk, above average hus, above average eco. Therefore longbows, who are, yeah, just worse than skirms to be honest, but do an okay job at camping. That's why they just a mediocre civ, the lack of a skirm kind of. Anything else is good about them? Yeah, infinite shipment. Rockets, I don't really like rockets. I think they suck, but they're better than nothing. So yeah. In the number 9 spot, Germany, and I put them behind Brits because Brits perform better against some of the above mentioned civs. Germany is just pretty much okay at everything, with a very strong eco to begin with, and the best infinite shipment in the game, which is the heavy cannon. Heavy cannons literally can MVP any game type, and yeah, stays the case. No matter if it's team, ranked, 1v1, whatsoever. What you could say is all the civs for which I mentioned wood issues, many of the ranked games suck, by the way. Keep that in mind. In the 10th spot, we're now at the tier 3 civs. Ottoman. As my current name is Mamluk Abuser, I have to highlight that they can train Mamluks for an age up, which is amazing. Super fun to do, just as it is also fun to run around with Janissaries and make mortars and yeah, just piss off your opponent. Decent Hus, Abyss guns are alright. Yeah, there isn't really much to highlight other than that, but I mean the eco isn't even good, so it's really just fun to make Mamelukes and run around. I guess you can highlight infinite bombards, but they're still worse than heavy cannons. Next is Russia, who can spam pretty much everything. Spam muskets, forts, Cossacks, and walls, and that's all things you should do actually. It's not just meme. Yeah, regardless, Russia probably loses to every other civ that is mentioned above, and so yeah, they mostly just end up losing, but they can get some work done sometimes with their runs with forts and oprichniks. If you get any damage done, you obviously have the chance to win the game, but if your opponent pays attention, there is very little chance a Russia player could outplay like a Euro or Portuguese player. Number 12, Dutch. Well, Dutch is just Dutch, right? Terrible eco, huge army. I would consider them even lower in normal cases, but recently I found out you can age up with mercs, and if you get lucky enough to get a high HP cav in the saloon, you actually overperform with them by a lot. Let it be Elmeti, Mamelukes, or Strasyachts. All of these options work very nicely and make your civ so much stronger, as high HP cav is literally what the massive artillery skirm Reiter army needs. Regardless of that, Dutch is still just in the number 12 spot, obviously, and they're not a very good civ to be teamed with, as you will most likely just have to feed them, as doubling against Dutch just drains them immediately and on the spot. 13, India. Yeah, India is only in numbers in the 13th spot because of their good eco, because their military is simply awkward and shit. Bad train times. Gurkha is a good skirm, but Sepoy got nerfed, not even cost effective anymore. Siege elephants suck, as they are tagged by too many units, countered by too many unit types. Mahouts and Howdahs, terrible units, easy to focus, can get crack shotted even though they don't die entirely anymore. Yeah, and Mahouts just never get the job done, to be honest. Which is where they're even worse than Howdahs. But yeah, you can just get overrun easily with that. So India pretty much requires a Wildelite. Anyway, India also has the forward construction or battlefield construction card, which makes Sepoy build braxes, stables, and castles, which is quite good. You can run around and piss off civs that are weak against running. But yeah, India just struggles against artillery. So, and actually they struggle against almost everything, so whatever. That's why they're not a tier 1 or tier 2 civ. 14, Japan, and that's probably surprising for most of you. I will say this: Japan becomes much stronger in a team game, and also in not competitive play, but in ranked game mode with water maps added. Reason why Japan is so terrible in 1v1s is because they have daimios, right? Killing the daimios means that Japan is fucked for a while, with the bad train times on daimios even. Very, very not mobile, because the train times on normal buildings are so much worse, and the units are also worse when not around the daimios. So running against Japan is super powerful, and once the run gets in, Japan is lost, because losing the one that loses on the spot. Despite that, Japan doesn't have good artillery at all. Flaming arrows are literally dog shit. I wouldn't even want to make them if I had a choice. So it's really just Ashi, Nagi, Yumi trying to do work out there. And in team games, Hadamoto pushes are really strong, yes, but that's not really viable in 1v1. Number 15, Aztec. Aztec is a civ that manages to be actually terrible at every single game aspect. They have bad eco, they have bad units, bad train times for the only good units, relies on wood, so they also die very quickly when there's no wood, as both their cav and skirm units cost wood. yeah, the only thing that is relatively fun to do is spam Jaguar Knights because they have received a small buff, and it's fun to just run around with a unit that counters several unit types and is good at sieging, but it's definitely not enough to win a game unless you're just better than your opponent. And the very last and also least is Lakota. Uh, an okay eco, an amazing explorer, and very strong units around TPs. Unfortunately, none of that is any help because they don't have a siege unit, which means once your opponent builds a wall, you wonder what you have to do. And the easiest solution is to switch the fighting spot or just, yeah, well, just try to siege it down with melee units, which is terrible, and, yeah. That's why Lakota just sucks. That is also the case in any other, well, in team games and whatsoever. Lakota is just always the shittiest of all. You could support them with mortars, but they still don't have artillery. And Lakota is just terrible. Yeah, that's gonna be it for the civs, I think. As always, if questions are left, just ask me, I'll respond to them. And yeah.